in, welcome in.
Welcome in, welcome in. Welcome back to Do It for the Story. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Stacey. Cheers.
Woo! Cheers to us.
Cheers to the weekend.
Changed it up again. We're doing a Saturday session.
Yeah, it's Saturday session, so you know in my glass I got my vibations. I hope everybody's tried. If anybody's tried vibations,
Right in.
If you're in a state where you can purchase vibations, THC cocktails, or whatever they call them. Anyway, welcome in, everybody. Welcome back. Another week, another weekend. It's funny because the recap of the weekend that we kind of usually do when we record on Sundays,
Yes.
hasn't happened because the weekend we're just getting into it. However, Morgan and I were just saying that we have gotten a lot of the weekend in already today on the Saturday afternoon.
Saturday at 1:30 p.m.
And what have you done today, Morgan?
And well, I'm not, you know what? Because we're talking about the weekend, I'm not even going to start with today. I'm going to start with Thursday. I went and I volunteered at the Maritime Museum of Annapolis.
Love that.
The park side. I was in an education training program. So when like the kids come through, I will help with, you
were with kids?
No, I was getting trained. You have to get trained, and then so learning like the different activities that they do, and like what
so
kids.
you will be volunteering with them?
Yeah, and like how to help. Basically, I was being trained how to be an assistant teacher kind of thing.
I didn't know that. That's what you're doing. I thought it was just like a day of service, like you were going there to do an activity.
No, because Zach, I think Zach will be fine with this because he's the director of it. And he's known in the community, but a friend of ours welcomed me in, knowing that my company really promotes volunteering, so I get paid to volunteer. So
I'm so jealous you get to do that.
yeah. So, and it really what it is that they just encourage you for part of your PTO to be, given towards,
which is awesome.
And
But
that's
that
really
it's
what
more
it
than
is.
one day.
But I'm saying anyone could do it. You know what I mean? It's really like any company could really incorporate that and not make it a big,
but I like that they make it more of a like,
you really do it.
it's an initiative.
It's an initiative. Yeah.
Because my company would still be like, okay, who's covering?
Exactly. Anyway,
That's
so
awesome.
I did that. So it was amazing. So it was just, I was outside from 9 a.m. until, and that's not even including, my just getting out and driving around town over the little, we go over the bridge, Angel and I, as I drop them off for school in the morning.
Did you
and we
drive in the car? Or did you ride bikes?
So we were driving in the car because we had a little bike, mishap, which we won't need to go into, but everything was fine. It was fine. It was just for our family, we needed a little reset.
I'm in the cart.
Yep. So we'll probably get back to the cart. In the morning, we'll probably do that. But we had a couple of days this week where we were driving in. But anyway, so when we go over the bridge, we say, "Good morning, Annapolis."
Well,
as we go over.
It was funny too, not to, you said you started at Thursday. Last night, ran into the Donahues out on the water.
Yeah, because so Thursday then I was so excited to be outside all day that I was like, Joe, we got to go get on the boat tonight. Plus I'm really into circadian rhythm right now. This other health podcast thing I was listening to. So I was like, this is great. We're getting up and then we're going to, bed with it. Angel loves it. He's fallen asleep on the boat. He goes to bed so easily after when he's seeing the sunset, it's really calming for him on the water.
It's going down.
So we literally bumped into you guys on the water.
Yeah, we did because we also went out Thursday. Yeah. Just Joe and I, we went fishing. We've been doing a little Thursday, trying to make it our ritual of also something to, even when it'll be colder, make Thursday we're going to do an outside activity after work. Yeah. Because we both,
you need it.
We need it, but it's just nice for us to do it together.
Yes.
As a set day. And we've been actually doing fishing crew, no, War Ben, Joe and I, just coincidentally.
I love that.
It's been actually this Thursday night. Half the fishing team wasn't there, so they get a spanking.
Ooh, wow, that's not good.
But we've just been going out fishing and exploring so that's been fun. But ran into you guys Friday night.
Yes, Friday night.
Because Thursday you went to the Maritime.
Thursday after the Maritime.
Party.
Oh yeah. So then afterwards I was like, and then we should pop over because it's called September Sunsets. And so they have every Thursday throughout September. So next week is the last one. And so, you literally can just on your boat. Like we just pulled up on our boat and
But what was funny though, because I thought the September sunsets they were doing on the other side of Bat
they
Creek.
do those on so the other side. So the ones that are on the Bat Creek Eastport side, that's a summer concert series.
Oh, so this is still.
And then they take over for the month of September. So the Eastport side ends on the last weekend of like August, and then they take over for September, and then it's done for the season.
Oh, because
for the year.
Joe and I were out on the water, and we saw the there's music over there, and I was like, oh, it must be a private event, because I thought someone had a name tag on that I could see from the dock. But
there are people with name tags.
We did just like, oh, it's high tide, we can get closer. So we stood there for a couple minutes and listened to music.
Yeah, and the thing is that about that location, it's a public park. You can go there anytime, beautiful trail and everything. But the great thing about that location is it's so much more woodsy over there. So and there's more beach. So we just pulled up. We literally, and it was actually happened to be high tide. So we just literally pulled the boat up onto the edge and jumped off. Angel and I were dancing and jumping rocks and everything. And it was fantastic.
Awesome.
But then so Friday we were like, let's get out there again. And we just went out fishing and dipped in and went and had a little picnic on the beach.
That's awesome.
And then bumped into you guys. And now here we are ready to record.
I just love because I bumped into you guys last Friday night. Technically didn't see you, but was in the same area on Thursday night, also on the water. So Thursday, Friday. And then this morning I ran in, not to you, but I ran into random people while paddleboarding.
Aww.
I was like, wait, like someone that literally
because that's what
Kiki
you did this
and
morning.
I went to college with, or like Kiki interned with in college. And I literally saw her and I'm like, hey.
Wait,
I think I know you.
When's the last time you've seen her?
In the flesh, like legitimately, probably not for like, I don't know, 2009.
Oh, crazy.
2008.
Do you follow her on Instagram or anything?
I think I recognized her in I've seen her probably on social media, like Kiki's connected with her, but
really randomly.
She looked exactly the same.
That's awesome. I was going to say that's awesome. She was looking exactly the same.
She does. I said
that
you realized. Remember me? Or how did you recognize me? And I was like, you literally have aged so well. You look exactly the same. But it was just funny that's where I'm running into people on the water.
Oh, yes.
And then
in Annapolis, but you said she lives locally. So that's, so she's getting out there.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's fun. So then this morning I paddled, went to the beach, had a little meditation, journal time.
Yeah. I had, amazing.
Now here we are.
Yeah. I had fellowship with Warren, went on a walk with the pup.
I love it.
That was that with our little Stormy dog.
Yeah. And then Morgan came over and we started prepping, and in prepping, we kept getting distracted and
yeah, we did.
And we were, it was less of distraction, I would say, and more topic jumping.
Yeah.
Which we both do together. We do separate. And that is something because we have ADHD. And thought, hey, maybe we should shed some light on that today. Because sure, let people in. People could identify, could shed light for others, but it also could give you all a little bit better of an understanding of how these two brains work, function, operate, don't operate. I'm kidding.
Right, exactly. Because if we're asking you to tune in and listen to us, right, and listen to us speak, we want you to understand that the moments that we are talking fast or we're talking over each other or we're getting loud or, we are like, this is the sign that I'm looking at right now. Calm, pause, gather thoughts, breathe, don't talk over each other, because those are all of our, especially when, when you're with your sister circle, and that includes like Warren and the people that, you've known and have your own language with,
right,
which is you can just, ping pong.
It's back and forth. You're switching topics. And I think it's also interesting because it's almost like, for those who are listening that have known me and aren't around me as much now, it's like, I've gotten a diagnosis. I know why. I know why I am the way. And like, I think certain characteristics sometimes when I think like, I'm not trying to be rude. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to jump in.
I know.
It's literally like trying to, like an itch I have to scratch.
I know.
And I don't realize I'm doing it. It just happens. I'm just interjecting or for a while I thought it was, I grew up with so many siblings. You're just, everybody, if you don't talk, you're not, get in there, say something. But then, as I learned more about the diagnosis, I'm like, oh, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. The symptoms of.
So what is ADHD?
Okay. I'm going to read it from psychiatry.org, like what their actual definition is.
Okay.
But attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is what ADHD stands for. And that's the term. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure they just go by the ADHD, not ADD, that we would hear a lot of when we were kids.
Yes. I've heard the same exact thing. You're correct.
But it's a chronic developmental disorder that affects a person's behavior and is characterized by ongoing symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. So like with the inattention, it could be more difficulty staying on task, focusing, staying organized. Hyperactivity being, excessive movement, fidgeting, tapping, talking, especially in inappropriate situations.
It says that, especially in inappropriate situations. Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's me to a T. I mean, that's me to a T.
Yeah.
Like
Acting without thinking.
Me to a T.
Difficulty with self-control.
Me to a T. I mean, not self-control.
No, self-control, you're pretty good, actually.
Yeah, no.
Or a desire for immediate rewards.
Love that.
I love
You're
instant
obsessed
results.
with that.
I do.
Not as much as me.
Like,
I mean, everyone I think likes it, but
everyone does. But I think
you're obsessed.
Because for me too, it's a check. It's like it's done. It's all the task, the roll up into a thing.
Yeah.
But so that's the so ADHD. A lot of us, we probably heard of it. You think of it more of like in a classroom like setting with I think especially speaking for the millennials, everybody had the kid in class that you knew had ADD or ADHD. I'm saying ADD then.
Because that's what they said then.
Yeah. And it was usually a boy. Right? Like that was more of the hyperactive. Like, or
that's what they studied.
Or was quote unquote, I'm using air quotes because it was like, the bad kid. Like, poor behavior, And it was Ritalin was the big like drug of the 80s, 90s that they kind of there's so much stigma around it. But that's to me what I thought of as ADHD, but with the symptoms. So like I just gave you, that was an overview of bucketing everybody. Obviously symptoms are different for, how they would present in an adult versus a child, male versus female. And what's interesting with the women, so I'll just give the symptoms just to get like a little bit of more of an idea. So there's 3 types of ADHD or like subtypes. It's inattentive, hyperactive. It's hyperactive / impulsive, and then mixed, meaning you could have both, like a little bit of either. I tend to think I fall into the mixed category. I definitely think I am like straight down the middle for the buckets of things. But for the inattentive type, it's you're more prone to making errors because of inattention. You have trouble staying focused and on task. You often seem like you're not paying attention when others talk, like you zone out, or have what's known as 1,000-yard stare. I really had to laugh at that because Joe this is Stacey talking. Cease. My husband will be like, babe, where are you? Like at time, because I will be in a stare, like just out of it. And Joe's like, where? I'm like, leave me in this. I feel good. Like
Angel does that.
Oh my gosh.
A lot.
Yes. Angel. Yeah. And so we'll talk about that in a sec, but ADHD is very hereditary.
I know, and Joe has it too. So
yeah, but so
but doesn't that just mean I'm genuinely asking this? Does that mean that I swear I've heard this, that we were like the hunter gatherers, just that like it's not natural for us to like sit at our desks because like certain of us, it's like just in our blood that like we would have been moving and shaking. But I swear I remember hearing that. But somebody Google that.
I identify.
Yeah, I'm like I would love to get out and do and pick.
But let me just finish with so inattentive. symptoms, right? So we said you're prone to making errors because of intention, you trouble staying focused, the 1,000-yard stare, zoning out. You can start projects easily, but have trouble following through and completing them. I feel seen. I feel seen. Like at work,
identify.
yes, but we'll get there. You have difficulty organizing and setting priorities, especially with projects or tasks that involve multiple steps.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's me. You dislike or avoid boring or tedious tasks such as busy work, chores, or paperwork. I feel seen. Like creating
I would love to my favorite thing is if someone told me like you don't actually have to touch any of that paperwork, like any of the insurance or checking your credit cards or anything. If someone was like, you're now so rich that you just have someone manage it and hope for the best that they don't try and cheat you out of your money, because I'm ready to light all that stuff on fire.
When Cece and I, shortly after we were engaged and living together, and definitely he started taking on some of the administrative stuff for me even before we were married, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, one, I had been living in like small apartments and like studios, right? So different as far as what I have available to me to store things in, files. When I handed Joe this file, it was like
a cabinet
that had like everything in it. I was like, oh, here are my tax. You need my tax forms from last year. And he's like, what is this? Like, he's like, where's your paperwork for your car warranty and stuff? I'm like, it's in there. Like everything was just jumbled in. It was not organized. Nope. And I'm like, I hate this stuff. I don't want to look at it.
I don't want to look at it.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Time.
But it also says you're prone to losing, misplacing, or forgetting things. You're easily distracted by what's happening around you. Okay, well now I'm just
feeling attacked. I honestly, let's move on.
But then the hyperactive impulse symptoms are you fidget often, you frequently need to stand up and walk, you feel restless, you have trouble staying quiet, and you talk to yourself or say nonsensical phrases or sounds, sometimes without thinking or intending to.
It's actually on a .org.
This is on Cleveland Clinic. This is Morgan. We should preface it with, I've had more... I've been diagnosed longer. Morgan's still in her journey of understanding what ADHD is. So maybe this episode is also a little bit of coming to light.
Yeah, I think it is a coming to light, because I think that's what it is, that like you were the one that diagnosed me. Now wait, I didn't know.
Now wait, I diagnosed you and then your therapist did. But
no, my therapist said, I mean, you probably do have it. She's like, I'd have to send you to a specialist, but truthfully, it sounds like you're managing it pretty well, because she was like doing the checklist of like, okay, you're using Post-its, you're doing, because if you end up,
how you operate.
I would have to take a choice to take medication and, change my personality.
A little different.
Do I need to dim my light?
Well,
I don't know. Maybe I'm too much. That's hard.
I want to be careful with that, because saying that one,
I'm not saying that's a thing. People need the medication.
But I wouldn't say it's necessarily changing your personality. That's
I don't know.
Saying don't take an SSRI because you're changing your personality from being an anxious person.
See, that's true.
Yeah. It's like, be your authentic self. What are you going?
No. And I know I'm
so
kind of kidding,
not that, but it's. I think for you, it's
just
like
another medication.
Another thing,
I already have a lot of medication.
Side effects.
Go back if you haven't listened to the disability episode. Y'all know now that, and I've been on SSRIs.
But anyway, this is, you see the ADHD happening here, the back and forth. But this is, let me just finish the hyperactive. It says you find yourself talking excessively. This can look like over-explaining yourself or info dumping, an informal term for talking at length about something you enjoy.
I don't like this.
You have conversational restraint problems. You frequently interrupt people. You have trouble being patient and waiting your turn. You don't always understand social boundaries. You may interrupt, intrude without realizing.
So what do I do?
So
do I need to see a doctor?
No, but this is what it's more of the, now so there are coping mechanisms and different things that you can do.
Is there like, do I have a bracelet? Do I like a rubber band?
Well,
I'm serious.
People do use fidget toys. I mean, I personally, but let's back it up. So now that we know what the symptoms are, and we know, but with women, it's not as.
I mean, in the perfect case right here, I'm 40. No one's ever told me that.
It's really common. Women start getting diagnosed now. You want to know why? Because their kids get diagnosed.
Yeah. That makes
especially
sense.
Their sons.
Yeah.
And then when the doctors are going through the symptoms, but they also, because it's so hereditary, they'll ask, like, do you have a family history? And they're like, well, no. And when they talk about
the doctor's like, are you sure?
Especially with like, you know, like our parents being like the lost generation for like not being diagnosed for things.
Right.
It's like ADHD is also such a newly diagnosed
Truly
condition.
Understood. Yeah.
Like, I think it was only in the like late 70s that they even started having a name for it. So even if they knew it, it's not like our grandparents or our parents were going to get diagnosed when they were kids. You know?
Yeah, totally. Well, what are the types of, like, are there different types of ADHD?
That's what I was just reading. The interactive.
Oh, those are the different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is also like, that's because I was ADHD.
So those were the buckets of symptoms. So that's what I was saying with the hyperactive, impulsive. That's a type.
Okay.
And then the other
I felt
type,
like I identified with all of them.
Yeah, the other type. Well, that's because you're mixed. That's the third type.
Great. So I have the most problems. Right. This is awesome. And I have psoriatic arthritis and ADHD. I'm the most. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but the thing is, it's like we can laugh about it, and everybody is. It's impacts people differently, and you know everybody's different.
We're trying to take it light.
Yeah, because it's I mean, I always say I lean into it now, like where it's my superpower. It's definitely, though, especially when you have a child with ADHD and they're in school. I mean, I knew I had ADHD.
You did.
Like middle school, especially when math class started getting harder and I'm in tutoring voluntarily.
You know, it's funny. That's so surprising to me. I'm sorry to cut you off, but as you say that, it's so cool that you were so in tune with yourself mentally because I was the same way, but I never took it. I was always so in tune with myself physically, but I never took it that way. And now that you're saying this, I'm like, I was the exact same way. It would be like a history class that you had to memorize all the dates versus tell the story. I would have straight A's, everything else, and then like a D. You know?
Yeah, it was
math would be anything more advanced math. Like once I got to high school, math was like a horrible. I hated that.
I also think I have like, I don't even know the term.
Get dyslexia because sometimes I'm just straight reading backwards.
Yeah. Like, but with the math and specifically, I was trying so hard. I was like paying attention in class, and I'm like, no matter what I do, my brain is not here. But I think with the coping mechanisms you asked, so it's funny. I realized there were things that I was doing before having a diagnosis, and I didn't get diagnosed until I was 30.
Okay. So that's,
and I
late.
went to,
I mean, not late, probably in the average women getting diagnosed, but I mean, like, just imagine, like, I mean, you're like, I don't imagine I did, but like you living all that time. And I mean, I guess I did too.
College was a real struggle.
Oh, I had such a hard time in college.
I had so much. And even then I like, you know, my major was mass communications, minor in, you know, electronic media and film. But I had to write so much, so many papers, and the focus, and I thank God we didn't have all the social media. We talked about that before.
God, yeah.
It was really hard, and studying for tests for subjects that I had to take, like biology and physics and whatever else. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I had to have a tutor.
It was a struggle. And I'm not going to lie, in college, because I'm like, at this point, like, dude, there was such a stigma around being medicated for ADHD.
Yeah.
And because the symptoms in boys do present earlier on, like we were saying, like what we think of as ADHD, the hyperactive kid, the rowdy kid, the kid that can't sit down. Because girls are more of the talkative, the interruptive, or for the other types, you can also be the girl that has trouble making friends, that maybe does have a harder time with social interactions and being organized.
Because it's funny, I'm thinking of a friend of mine that has told me she has ADHD, and that is her.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah. So like, it's not like it's this, you know, exactly like this one type. And I'm sure with men too, there's misdiagnosis, because you could be a man that doesn't have as much of the hyperactivity, just more of the focus.
Right.
But I think because there was like stigmas around it, especially in our age group of that's really when kids started getting diagnosed, and you get to hear the stories about the Ritalin and that I was like, okay, well, at this point, college, I always thought of ADHD as school work, focus on studying, not the executive functioning, not Stacey cleaning her house and like Joe laughing at me that I've got kitchen cabinets open because I'm unloading the dishwasher while I've got a load of laundry in, while I'm like vacuuming a room. And he's like, where are you? Where are we?
I say, I love cleaning like that.
Because you have ADHD. And that's what, but you're stroking what you see. You're like, oh, there's that thing, rather than being like,
but I use it first. The way I'm
going to tackle the living room.
I know, but the way I think of it though is like, I don't want to forget that needs to be done.
That's
and so I'll
your
just
ADHD.
pull it out.
That's your
I'm going to forget.
Exactly. And that's why ADHDers, a lot of us love lists. Like lists are the love language.
See, if anybody had said any of this when I was a kid, I mean, I started using Post-it notes. I must have been second grade. I don't know, really early. I mean, Dad, he would always laugh about
Morgan
how I
would have Post-it
everywhere,
notes like lining her bunk bed.
I was the bottom bunk, and they would just be lining up everything I needed to remember and everything I needed to do because I knew I was going to forget it if I didn't. And I had a lot of things that I needed to get done.
Your bedroom door had Post-its. Your bathroom mirror had Post-its, and it wasn't like mantras. It was like, study for this test.
Yeah.
Turn my alarm on.
Yeah. It was like, get your, and especially because think about it, this is before any kind of technology.
Right.
There's no phone with a list on it or an alarm.
Right.
So I'm having to think of, and just I was Post-it note crazy because it was also for me, and it still is, I'm still Post-it note crazy on my desk, where it's the physical, and that's probably part of my symptoms too, or maybe it's the, that satisfaction of the immediate, of crumpling up the Post-it note and throwing it on the ground. I literally, this is
that's like an instant result. It's
instant
not,
result.
but
crumple it, trash.
And checking it off the list and seeing it. And then the other side of the list for me is I sometimes, especially with projects at work, I need to write out every little task, even the most obvious, because I need my brain to stay do this, then that, then this, stay on task, don't get distracted, or I'll get overwhelmed that I, know the first two little things that are obvious, like, okay, open up PowerPoint, select new. Now I'm like, all right, I got a title, I got my agenda. Now I have to, it sends me into a frenzy if I'm not okay, where do I go get the data for that? It's in this report. I will outline and link out a project before I can just get started.
Yeah, no, totally. But oh man, I'm just thinking of all the, now that I've been diagnosed in this moment, I'm thinking of all the things. Well, and I'm fine with it. I totally am. If anything, I'm just feel more empowered because now I kind of know. But, I think about the other thing that I've done, though, even with the Post-it notes, and this is what I was processing as you were talking, I use them, even though I use them on my desk, is I will, there might be, let's say, one Post-it note is a representation of one mini project that I have. And so there's, 1, 2, 3 things on it that need to get done for project XYZ. And then there's another one with the same, for that project. And I will move the sticky notes around my desk to be okay, now this one's moved to third. And and then on the Post-it note for the individual project, I will change the number of which thing needs to be done at that time and keep.
I do the same thing. My coworkers, and this is I'm working in all remote environment. They know I love the Post-it notes. It's a joke. The amount of gifts people send me of someone being surrounded in Post-its, because I have mini ones that are about an inch, big, and those are my individual taskers. But end of day Friday, I make my list for Monday, and my Post-it notes that are on my desk are my these are my have to do, and I rearrange. I'm okay, now these are grouped together. This is a similar task. I can do this. Yeah,
but you have to figure you have to make your brain work.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it's interesting. I think everybody has those problems, and then you realize, no, they don't. So God, wouldn't it be cool if you could just pop into someone else's body of someone with a totally functioning head and body?
What is it like?
What is it like to be in that?
I asked a friend the other day, or we were on a topic. Someone asked me, do you drive in the car with music on or music off? And I said, music on. And they were like, oh, I'm a silent person.
So it depends on my mood. Sometimes I might need silence if I need to let my head clear, but I would not drive for I could drive an errand in Annapolis in silence for 10 minutes.
Sure.
But would I drive to DC? No. I might do that for if I'm having a hard day, 20 minutes.
That's what they're referencing. And it was like an hour.
Crazy.
And Cease does that. He says he likes it. He also is an ADHD person. It's his brain. He says it's always going. It just lets him have, like, he's not paying attention to what he's hearing.
Yeah.
Where, like, I like to put on like a podcast or something so that my brain is just listening to that, because I sometimes just want to focus on driving.
I was going to say, that's because the environment for me, driving's too scary for me.
It's not even about being scary. I just feel like I would lose focus if I didn't have something to focus
in the back of your mind.
In the back of my mind. Like,
same.
That's why I like with working. Same. I like to listen to lo-fi music when I'm doing my like desk busy work.
Okay, I'm going to need these tips.
But
give me some of the coping mechanisms, because now I literally am like okay, what I need lo-fi
like,
at work.
People are probably doing naturally, like you were saying you were doing naturally, so it's probably helping you. Like, movement for me is a big thing. If I don't get out of my house and go on a walk, go to the gym, do some kind of movement first thing in the morning. First thing. Okay. Especially work week, it's going to be
even if it's 5 minutes, or does it need to be a certain amount of time?
I mean, I like to at least be
like. Do you feel better in 30 minutes, or like can you get if you like did a sprint walk for like 15 minutes?
That would be better. Something's better than nothing. But ideally, I have a 45-minute exercise walk before the day,
because it kind of quiets you and
quiets
gets you.
Me. It also gets my body moving, the energy fresh out. Air, get some energy out. Okay. You know, we talked about making lists. Like, obviously that helps with work, with tasks, but that's just in life. Like, Joe and I also have on our refrigerator, we have a notepad, like they're skinny little notepads that have a magnet on the back. And we have 3. One is a grocery list. One is like our shared task list. So we can, have a reference point to check things off. And then a third is just like, if I need to take that down and me for the day, I'm doing separate tasks and write out the things I need to do into that. And that just helps both of us. But the list making, like I said, listening to lo-fi music, I will do that during the day when I'm working, but I'll also do it depending on my mood and what I need to get done around the house. Because sometimes it's better for me to have something rather than silence to get shit done.
Yeah, and I find that if I have like a podcast, or if I have like pump up music.
Yeah, or like
I will
instrumental. I'll do classical too. It just depends on what I like.
Yeah, and the mood. Yeah.
And then therapy is one too. I have a therapist and a psychiatrist. My psychiatrist can prescribe me, which I do have a prescription for Adderall. I take it as needed for me, because like you, I went so long without being medicated that I felt like, okay, I know what I can do. And now that I'm aware, I just know it's not me like having such a hard time focusing. Just get up, walk away from your desk, take a beat. Like, don't struggle, don't force it. Don't try to like fight with yourself. If I'm having a day where my brain just isn't doing it, just give myself that separation. Also, my therapist always would check in with me with the top 3 things was, how is your eating? How is your sleeping? How is your exercise? And then like 4th being how's stress, how's work? But like that for anything, not just ADHD. Right. You gotta be talking to other people. I didn't know any other woman my age who had ADHD.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Once I learned more about it and I read more about it, and I'll link another book in the show notes that I think it's just called Women with ADHD maybe, but the psychiatrist who wrote the book is local to Maryland, and I actually found out about her through another podcast.
Oh, wow.
And like has a practice. So I'll link that. Wow. But it was a really good book for how it presents in women. And then I also listened to some other podcasts. So I'll link some resources. But the talking to other folks that have it, like at my work, we have ADHD and neurodivergent like disabilities group.
Like an employee resource
group. So we have that community. We can, you can just pop in. You're like, hey, I'm having a hard week. You can ask about what works for you and just shared stories. It's kind of validating. Like, oh, you too have to have your house perfect before the workday starts.
Especially at work because you're triggered all day. Your ADHD's triggered all day.
Right. And working from home, blessing curse.
All of it. Exactly.
But then the other thing is like, just talking to, people, there's different groups online. I think you can find Facebook groups anywhere, but podcasts were big for me. Because a lot of women were telling their story. Yeah. And their stories and how they operated and them saying like how their brain thought and how they go through their day and about tasks. I was like, holy shit, that is me to a T.
So validating.
That was really kind of like my aha. Like, I'm not crazy. Listen to me, doctors. Now I'm telling you, not asking you. Like, how do we go about getting me a formal diagnosis? Yes. And then the other thing that is funny that like, this is controversial. So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. So do consult with your doctor, your therapist, whoever first. But for me, cannabis was something that has helped me with my ADHD. And now I'm not saying I get high and then I go work. No, not like that. But for executive functioning tasks, and when I say executive functioning tasks, think of like how you take care of yourself, like what you need to do to, cleaning my house, hygiene, am I eating, cooking dinner, like that kind of stuff. It does help me with it, especially after a long work day where I am in hyperactive brain all over the place topic mode where I'm like exhausted mentally, that then the last thing I want to do is like eat. But also in that day, I can get in those hyper focus zones. So like, quite frankly, if Joe didn't work from home too, some days I probably would forget to eat.
I'm literally thinking right now, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't eat I didn't like now. Yeah, I didn't eat enough today.
Yeah.
I
probably didn't either.
Constant.
I know I didn't. It's
But back to, this is again, me just being aha moments.
Yeah, you're Morgan's processing.
I'm processing. But as far as the cannabis goes, even you saying that, it's so funny because I always thought that was like just, and maybe it is the different strands of weed, but I always thought my response to cannabis was, was everyone's response to cannabis, except for I never really understood those people that be like, oh, if I smoked, I'd be like in the couch, because I'm like, well, sure, if I'm like smoking an indica, but if I have a sativa or if I even have a hybrid is great for me, my racing brain on a Saturday where I'm home by myself and I'm just like, I want to clean this place top to bottom.
One of my favorite strains for cleaning is sour diesel. Just everybody, FYI. Okay. And it's known to be one that's actually they say it's like a good ADHD.
Okay.
And that's for, I would say, the clean your house. Like you want to get shit done. You want to just like put on some background music.
Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm actually not bothered. I'm stoned. I'm focused. I'm folding the laundry. I'm clean. I'm vacuuming.
And Joe knows it's also my coping. It's like, because while I'm having a little bit of that, to get me to clean, it's not even that. It's like I'm clearing my brain after a day, because sometimes I am the person that cleans to de-stress. It's not even like de-stress. It's more like I've got to have things orderly.
Yes.
Because mess is stress.
Mess is stress. But mess is also distracting for me. Yes. Like I can't sit down and now hearing this, like in college, I couldn't sit down and do a paper if my room was messy.
That's every day in my office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's got to be a certain way. That's the one room that's like really never touched.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't be distracted. And I'll be able to have like, my 3 glasses, on the desk from
that's
that.
An ADHD thing too. Did you know that?
No, here we go.
More likely to have like multiple drinks.
This is a lot. This is a lot.
No, but like with weed though, or cannabis, the reason why, I think too in social interactions, like noticed it more in college where I would be the friend that would, have a hit go out. People wouldn't know that I wasn't drinking, that I was just stoned. it got me to be one, I don't like feeling out of control with alcohol. Like I like being in control, and the hangovers and all that. But it just gave me a little bit more.
The edge was taken off. You could get your words out without, trying too hard. Like that's what for me, same. Like I wanted to get stoned and have a couple beers and just be like, the edge is taken off. My anxiety, that edge would be taken off, and I wouldn't feel out of control. I wasn't going to get sick the next day. Like everything that cannabis, it really, and that even it makes me think of the freaking cold plunge. Like I hear people saying that that's great for them, but like when I tried it, I was like, dude, this is just amping me up even more. And I'm already like, my head's already spinning. My heart already races.
I know. And I thought it was just me for that.
No.
And then I honestly, until I listened to the Skinny Confidential and they had a doctor on, I don't remember which episode, but the doctor said that.
Felt so validated when I heard that.
Some people, you have too much energy and doing the cold plunge will just ramp you up, because I felt, remember we recorded after it. I said it. I was like, I feel like a little weird. I feel like
crazy. And I'm already crazy.
It did feel a little like a lot of caffeine or something.
Yes. I already literally have like the tightness, the anxiety, the like feelings of like your mind is off.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't need, and then I listened to another completely unrelated podcast that said heat is really great for things too, and the sauna and quieting and also letting the toxins out. And I seriously feel like that's why I've always responded to the hot tub. I can't do the sauna with like my face stuff, but yada yada, that's another thing. But like, it just made me feel validated of like, it's the same. Like the water is warm and calming and slowing me down and kind of, and it is getting me.
And again, everybody's different, because I don't know.
Exactly.
Even like
everybody is different.
To, like we were saying, the medication. And again, I'm not someone that ever shames medication, because I am all about the whole life, meaning like, look at all the options. Look, it might be medication. It might be Eastern acupuncture. It might, which I do acupuncture for hormone balancing, but I also do it for anxiety. And I do think it just helps to calm me, which helps with the ADHD. But with the weed, I feel like sometimes with cannabis, I'm like, again, I said like at the end of the workday, sometimes it helps if I'm too ramped up, because I can be really like, it's a lot of energy, a lot of fast-paced energy that I have to like really. And it's weird to be fast down, because when I'm still in the fast-paced mode, even when I'm away from work topics, I'm still in that fast-paced, like, got to do this thing, and I'm like, chill. Like I'm literally like, I have to. Sometimes Joe is like,
chill.
Okay,
chill. Especially when it's weird to be fast-paced because of our work and being at our desk. It's weird to be fast-paced only in your head and not in your body.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a doctor in an ER running around. It's not like, someone's crashing.
That would be great for us, actually.
Well, they say that
no wonder Mom was so good as
ADHD,
an ER nurse.
That being a nurse is a great role for someone with ADHD. And I read that. And they also said with women having a lot of kids, when they describe, anyway, I'm not like diagnosed, but I laughed with it to my mom, like, you have the right roles. And I know other people in my life that are nurses and have multiple kids and stuff that are.
So I got one kid and I sit at a desk. I don't know what I'm going to do, guys, but write in. I'll take any tips.
Write in. She's looking for offers.
I'm going to have to switch careers. I don't know what I'm going to
do. But it's even what you're saying though, like, oh, so I'm in this career. At work, like I mentioned how it's a coping mechanism. Like I have the support group, and my work gives me great resources too. Like I have an ADHD mentor now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, which is cool. Someone like in a similar role that has more years on me, but she's also experienced things I haven't in life. So like I've talked to her about like, hey, I want to get pregnant, but I am worried about not being able to like have medication at all, because I don't take Adderall every day. Again, I don't care what anybody does. I take it when I really, especially cyclically, hormones impact ADHD as well. I won't give the talk on that because there's not enough research on it.
Okay.
But so that might be a time where I'm like, okay, this is an Adderall day for me.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm like, especially during busy times at work, or I'm getting hammered on projects. Tasks. I'm worried about not having that as something in my toolkit. The Adderall for me is something in my toolkit, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, totally hear you. because you can't have it when you're pregnant. You can't have it when you're breastfeeding, I don't think.
Probably
Maybe
not.
like a lower dosage,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Again, I'm not the doctor. But she said, like, you got to really tone things back at work and start
Yes.
really, you know, working on the accommodation piece.
Accommodation.
And she said that, and they have I have ADHD coaching where, again, it's just helping you with, like, not just relying on the medicine, which is cool, helping you find what are the things you can have in your toolkit to help you with some of the, like, all of the things, executive functioning, focus, da-da-da-da-da. But last thing I'll say about work, I enter a lot of conversations depending on the interaction, telling people I have ADHD
yeah.
because I want people
don't
to
want them to
know
get
how I
frustrated.
receive information,
Yeah.
how I need to receive information. And I'm not asking you all these additional questions and clarifying questions because I'm being a smartass or like trying to dig into you. Do you know what you're talking about?
Right.
Because I need to make sure I'm processing and I need deadlines and so I like to give that, especially when I have a new manager. I'd like them to understand it. And I did that recently
Wow.
and had someone respond with being in tears because she was like, I see myself.
Aww. So she had my response, but rather
Yeah.
than being stoned, she was at
Yeah.
work and stressed and cried.
Yeah. And then through that, like I talked to her about how I had a child that she was like going through the diagnosis with. And she's
Oh,
like,
so
oh my
she was
God.
also triggered by that too. She was trying to figure out what was going
But
on.
also relieved because she's like, how do you, she literally was like, how
Yeah.
do you have ADHD? You're like so organized. You're like, I would never. She's like, you're on it. And I said, behind this desk, it's a sea of Post-it notes. I literally said that to her. And then I turned my camera down so she could see that I'm like, it's a shit show down here. It's lists and Post-its. And like, I'm just trying to
live.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, and that's again goes back to one. I mean, you said that earlier about the community and you mentioned ERGs and stuff, but just in general, it goes back to, you know, our common theme and, you know, what we talked a lot about last week with community is, you know, that's the thing with community and vulnerability. It's not necessarily easy to step outside of your comfort zone and
Right.
tell someone that you have ADHD. It's not necessarily easy to walk up to somebody and make a new friend, but it's that risk reward, you know, like the odds of someone laughing in your face at work when you say I have ADHD, pretty fucking low. Cause one, they're going to get fired, you know, like, so
Right.
it's like, even though it's uncomfortable and I totally get, but
Yeah.
it's so worth it. And
But-
then look
and
at that.
you're sharing.
Both you're sharing, she got educated.
The reaction is always people being so welcoming about it, being like,
Right.
thanks for telling that. And like, this was a situation of someone
needing
saying,
it.
I see myself, I needed it. I needed that relatability. But I've also had people say, thank you so much for sharing. I too have ADHD or I too
and they get brave.
have a neurodivergent disability. And it's really nice to know like that I'm not like alone in that, but I'm on the same page as you. And I'm like, I see you. So that's,
see you.
I see you.
I see you.
You can't see us.
Tune into the video, guys.
But
we're on the YouTube.
I know I jumped a little bit. I just had to say that work part because I wanted to, again, we always want to share so someone can take away to learn. And I want people to also, again, with vulnerability, like you can help someone, but also like sharing just because it can be really frustrating, you beating yourself up about these symptoms that you think are just you being you, which it is you being you. I do have ADHD that is me being me. That's my brain. But understanding how it works to be able to like
then I can
use some
kind
other
of use my coping mechanisms and identify it
and
as,
lean into.
because sometimes it's also not knowing that it's not, you know, and the normal isn't the word, but not knowing that it's not something that every single person experiences. Like that's something that I've learned along my health journey is that like, just because I've always experienced that does like certain pain and stuff,
Right.
doesn't mean that that's what everyone's experiencing.
And the more
question,
you talk about
things, and the
it's
more
just-
you're open.
Yes, it's like a friend of ours, like women with bad periods.
Yes.
And then telling me, I was like, oh my God,
Yes.
why didn't you tell me you were like using 20 tampons a day? No, that's not normal.
That's not okay.
And like,
I hope they're going
you
to
were
a
like, I
specialist.
just thought I was having I'm just saying when you're like a teenager, you're like, I'm just having a period.
No, I know. I know. That's what I mean.
But it's like you're saying with you just think it's how your brain is working.
Yeah.
Not to pivot back to it, but that's how I am with cannabis.
Yes.
I am like, oh, well,
Yes.
I thought everybody would rather take a hit.
Well, that's
have a hit of weed or like a little edible and go to a social function than be drunk where I like might say something.
Yeah.
I don't. And again, I'm not drunk. I'm not shaming, but I'm just saying if you're someone that's drank and also has tried cannabis, I'm always like, well, it's a no-brainer, right? Like you want to go with the cannabis. But everybody's brain is different.
Right. Because think about it. We all know that, drinking can, they say, what do they say? The basically when you drink, you're telling the truth. Just because you're truth serum when you're blurting, just because you're blurting shit out,
Loose lips.
But think about it though, for people like us that are just to fucking like the weird noises and stuff that it was saying, like, that's like me to a T. And so like cannabis is like calming all of those things down for me. And allowing me to just be like, poo, more like kind of chill in the moment, go into it and just also enjoy versus like alcohol that's going to ramp that stuff up, which for somebody else, maybe that's what they need. You know what I mean? So it's just,
right.
Oh God, it's so interesting. But the cannabis piece, it's so funny though, because it just makes me think of like our consistent love of cannabis for so long, and like that this to me makes it even more of a reason, because that was one of the other things that, you saying your interaction with cannabis, but cannabis, that was another thing that why we started talking about this, that actually I just remembered because you sent me that article.
Oh, you're right.
That article about that people with ADHD will use cannabis 8 to 10 times more
than
right.
And I was see
the
that was
average,
my ADHD.
in quotes, average person.
Yeah, and I'm like, I feel seen.
Yes, I feel seen, and I was like, oh. As we're having this conversation and all these light bulbs are going off for me, I'm like, oh, well, that article now makes complete sense because we're calming all that shit down. Right. That's what it's doing. So, of course, when I want to go to a Rihanna concert, I'm going to say like, hey guys, let's like, go stand in this porta potty and smoke our faces off because I want to just get into the vibe versus like.
But see, and had I just smoked at the Rihanna concert,
it would have been better because I had alcohol. I shouldn't have had alcohol.
This was
great,
years ago.
This was like, oh my God, were we like right?
My first
early 20s for sure.
2000,
very early 20s,
I think 2010. So I would have been like 23.
Laura was like a baby. She was like
we
6.
went to a Rihanna concert, and actually Kesha opened for her.
That's right.
At Hershey.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it was all of us sisters, mom and dad.
Our friend drove.
And our friend drove. She was pregnant.
She's pregnant.
So I know. What she saw. Anyway, before the concert, we were pre-gaming.
Yeah. And then I was like, guys, I got it. Because this was before stuff was legal. And I was like, we went into the porta potty.
Went into
the porta potty, and Dad came out and he goes, it looked like the porta potty was on fire. Yeah. Like making fun of us for like being in there and smoking.
The best part was Dad like retelling that story to people. Like the guys, like our brother-in-law's husbands, like different times. And I remember the one time him overhearing it, and he was like, yeah, the girls thought the old man was an idiot. And then it looks like the whole porta potty's on fire.
I'm dead. But
it's just we would say coffee. We would be like, do you want to have coffee? Like,
because you weren't allowed to. It was illegal. You weren't allowed to. You weren't allowed to take an edible and just relax when you needed that. When you weren't someone that alcohol didn't have the right response.
Yeah,
for
so you're like, let's go have a cup of coffee.
Let's go have a cup of coffee. Hey, you guys want to get Starbucks after work? Like that was the thing.
Yeah, and that was what. It also was fun because, like you're saying, it was just fun. You'd laugh, giggle, just chat it up. But when we'd all go out in DC, when we all lived together, or like in our, basically together on the same block. We, meaning us and our other two sisters, we were in control more when we were, if it's a night out and we're going out drinking, us having a little bit of, cannabis, I'm not blacking out. I'm fully functioning. I can snap in and out of it. That's the other thing. edibles are a different story, but if I'm just smoking a little bit of weed,
even the right edible, I'm like,
well, even the right edible, but
dude, I'm good.
Yeah, I can come in and out of it if I need to. Like if emergency happens,
Whoop.
weed, I'm not.
Yeah, no.
Everybody's been there.
Alcohol,
Like,
no
chance. No. And
chance.
actually, it's funny because it also times where I think I'll use cannabis to help with my ADHD for racing thoughts when I can't stop. And this is like, I'm like, okay, I just need to relax. Because I was asking someone recently when I was saying that about what do you use when you're driving in the car. Also, I said to them, well, what's happening to your brain? Like, what are you just like thinking? And they're like, nothing. I'm just like zoning out. And I'm like, you're not, I would just be thought racing too much, like going through my to-do list, what I have to, you know, that part, and then
or start like, I don't know,
stories, thoughts,
I just so many
just
things.
random shit. I don't even
Shaming
know.
myself. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
literally,
anything.
just
I'm
like
no.
a catalog of like, stop.
What?
And I always try to tell myself, thoughts are just things. You don't have to listen to them. I literally have that posted on my wall in my office too, of like a turn your brain off.
Right.
But the cannabis at times when I'm like, all right, it's a Friday, the work week is done. I need to get the thoughts.
I deserve
to just
it.
Pause.
Absolutely. That's why Saturday, yes, this is me.
Because especially like you're saying, when it's also topics of like anxiety or annoyance, or that you're like, oh my God, I literally can't. I'm like feeling my body. It hates me right now. My chest is tight. I need to release it.
And if something's going on in the world, like it's
like I can think of a funny time too when this isn't funny, but years ago, like 2018, Stacey was living with one of my good friends. I love you, Adam. And the house we were living in burnt down in Baltimore. And so during this displacement, I went and stayed with Morgan for a couple days or whatever. And the house had just, this is like 48 hours later. And I show up at the Donahues and they were like, oh, we're having people over tonight for a barbecue, chill thing. And I think mom and dad were also in town.
Yeah, they were.
And so we're at their house and I was downstairs taking a shower or something. And I walk up the stairs to go outside where everybody was. And I can smell weed. I smell cannabis. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm coming around the corner thinking it's going to be Morgan. And it's two of their friends who happen to be
over 70.
No judgment. And I didn't really know them that well. I knew of them. I was like, oh, hi. I'm Stacey. And they were like, here, do you want this? Like they were in their full conversation, said, here you go. Hand me a joint. I'm like, love this. So I'm standing with them. I'm like, yeah, house just burnt down. Now we're chatting. They were like, well, you hang on to that because you probably sounds like you can need it more than us. So I'm like, great. So they let me just chill on it. Meanwhile, I hear my mom inside talking to someone saying, oh, I smell something like, not like she's being rude about it, but I just walk in and I said, remember when my house burnt down? I deserve this.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, I'm going to sit here.
No.
I'm going to be openly smoking. I'm going to be enjoying my time. I'm going to do whatever
I need to do to calm my cortisol levels to feel good
and to keep going.
Yeah, to survive because whoo.
But it was just a funny
But it is true though. But the social piece is something though, which that's exactly what you're really saying is the social piece of cannabis. There has always, and I think that there still absolutely is, because of like that community of like, okay, I'm safe with you all, you get it, because we all are always thinking of the judgment.
It was relief that I didn't have to go like let me, go around the corner.
Yeah, when the old white dudes, you don't necessarily know if they're going to be down with cannabis. They
were down. They were down. I was like, where'd you get this?
Yeah, exactly. So there was certainly no shaming at all, but. I don't know. I mean, it's just funny. It's like, it's such a different time too, that is one of the positives where, we're saying all these things about like coffee and, and it's just such a different time where you can just safely walking into, a dispensary, no big deal. And, where when we were back in the day, you're making friends with anybody to try and get your hookup and, I mean, oh my God, I think of that. Well, that actually, what I'm about to say actually had nothing to do with even wanting. We just needed a ride. We were hitchhiking that time in California?
I'm dead. Okay.
In California.
Yes.
But you know why I brought it up though? Because I was thinking we ended up getting cannabis from rando. But the reason that we did was actually not because we were socializing with someone to think like, how do we get weed?
This was literally, I had just graduated college.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about like, we were kids.
Yeah.
I was 21, 22.
Yeah, for sure.
And we needed a ride.
This was before.
We were in California
Ubers
on vacation.
Think of the year. So you would have literally been 2008? 2009. Okay.
Yeah, Uber was not a thing.
There was no Uber. Uber was not a thing in major cities until like 2012.
Yeah. And like you're saying, even if a city, there may be like a taxi service you can call, you're waiting for hours. And we needed a ride. We were on vacation. And so we didn't even have a rental car with us because
we were young kids.
The car wasn't available. And we had been drinking. We were trying to be responsible.
We were being responsible. And we didn't have any money. We were staying with family. And so
we said, all right, desperate times come for desperate measures. We're together.
We're together. Three of us are together.
We stood out. So we said, let's
hitchhike. But do you remember how we got that? Do you remember what happened?
We were wearing sarongs.
We were wearing sarongs. I had on like a t-shirt dressed from Express, like whatever. But it was just that we were cute girls.
Yeah, we were.
There was nothing.
Putting our leg out joking.
I did not have it wasn't like we had bathing suits on. I had a full like.
Yeah, you're right.
We had our shirts. Yeah, we had our t-shirt dresses on.
Yeah.
Cover-ups. But no, my I'm saying is, do you remember the moment that we decided we're going to hitchhike? So then it was one of us, all of us, whatever, put our thumb out. And do you remember the guy pulls over?
Yes, I remember.
It was sudden. It was not like there was, we were waiting by the side of the road for 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
Seconds.
It was maybe 10.
It was pretty much the thumb went up and the car went up. And then all of a sudden
this truck,
it was
flatbed truck.
Ford F-150.
Ford F-150, old school. Goes, pulled over.
And I will fast. We were on the opposite side. There was a median in between, and not like busy traffic. Think more Main Street, like, right?
Yeah.
City.
Yeah. You know, like in California, it always feels like you're kind of in 2-lane fast traffic, but it's not like
us on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Slams on his brakes.
Yeah. And signals.
And he does a loop.
Like, so I'm going to loop.
Like,
I'm going to loop.
Like, I got you.
The things that you do when you're a dumb kid. Like, we should have been looking, like, we should have told him no when we for like a woman or something.
Oh, it's a pickup truck. We were going a couple blocks.
Right.
I mean, not a couple blocks. It was like a couple miles. Like, let's call it 2 miles.
It was going to take us forever, but if we got a ride, it was 5-10 minutes.
And so we're like, we can just get in the back. We say this to him. He's like, no.
The back meaning not in the bed. It's the extended cab.
First we said that to each other, like, maybe we could just get in the backpack. And he's like, no, get in.
Because we're thinking safety-wise. We're trying not to sit right next to him.
Extended cab, so there's a row seat.
So we're like, at least we get in the row seats behind. And he was like, no, you two up here. And then he had to sit in the front.
He was like your Tribune.
He was always Tribune.
And
so... So we're driving along. I don't even remember what this guy's saying, but I remember we're all looking at each other.
And I'll say, this is kind of when we should have known.
Yeah.
He was, let's say, animated.
Yeah, he was animated.
Like, where are you guys from? You out of town? And we're like, we're down here staying with family, letting him know, like, we're not staying alone.
Right.
And that we're like, we're with family. Making it also seem like we were familiar with the area,
right?
And that should have been a signal too that we all were on the same page very quickly. Let's not divulge,
right?
But then he's like, I starts rambling
about all kinds of crap.
I mean, literally, he starts saying like, I once had sex on Timbuktu's grave.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I just remember the whole time holding my breath, being like, oh my God. I hope we get out of this alive.
I'm regretting sharing that as soon as because people were like, what are you thinking? But our brains didn't formally form until 25. Nobody was 25.
No one was 25. We were all like acting like, kids. We're just thinking invincible. Well, nothing will happen. We'll have a great time.
Boomers said they used to hitchhike.
Right, exactly. And so So he says that, so yada yada, we're like, telling him not the exact house, but we know we're like a block away. We tell him like, oh, pull over here, this is it, this is perfect. And as we're getting out,
or no,
it was before that,
I think, yeah, he was like, do you smoke? He asked us if we wanted, and we were like, no, not cigarettes.
No, not cigarettes. Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I got some great stuff. And he opens up the center console.
That's right.
Of his truck. And first he pulls out a Ziploc bag with a white powder substance.
With a white powder substance in it. And we're sitting there thinking, oh my God.
We're like, okay.
Because we're no pills, no powders,
no
girls.
Pills,
no
shame
powders,
on
anybody.
but
we were always
what
like,
did
weed
we
is
just
natural,
do?
shrooms are
That
natural. Yeah. We're like, oh my God.
Is pulling out.
Right. We're like, are we getting, like, can we just get out of this?
Yeah. And then he also goes, oh, well, I've got, I think maybe that's what it was. He showed us that first too. And we said no pills, no powders. That's what it was. We said, no pills, no powders, man, but that's cool. Like, thanks so much or something. And he goes, oh, would you smoke? And then we went, yeah.
Yeah.
And he gave us, and this guy gave us, at the time, again, we didn't have dispensaries then in California.
2 nice nuggets.
He gave us a bottle.
In a bottle, in an old medicine bottle.
And we were smart enough to say, it's not this street where we're staying. We had him drop us off a block ahead.
Yeah.
But,
and we waited for him to leave.
The
he didn't know where we
were
went.
staying with was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, he was right. He reamed us.
You guys could be halfway to Tijuana by now. Could you imagine me having to call your parents? Telling them?
Oh my God. We didn't do it again.
We didn't do it again. We lived to tell the tale. And that is why, like I've said, other family members of mine who, have said to me, or even friends of kids that are in college, they're like, I've never had to buy cannabis illegally. And I'm like, I ran so these bitches could walk.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm so happy they didn't have to experience that. Also, for the reason of, we all know the many friends, and I'm so glad it didn't happen to me. I wasn't one of them, who smoked something in college or wherever.
Oh, yes.
And they didn't know, they did get it for somebody they didn't know, or was laced with something they didn't like, or it wasn't even the strain for them. And they're like, that made me really anxious, or I can't smoke anymore because last time I was like this. Well, if you can't tell me what strain it was, where you bought it from, like dispensary wise, then I'm going to tell you
I'm good.
I'm not going to file that against all strains. I think it's different for everybody, but I would encourage you, if you're interested, to check on what might work best for you. Yeah. And like, now I can go into a dispensary and have a strain, that's for my migraines that makes me want to be a little bit more tired, just go to bed, get over it. I have a strain that is more, hey, I got to clean my house, help me with my executive functioning ADHD stuff. Mm-hmm. I then have a strain where I'm like, hey, it's a Friday night.
Yep.
I'm going out. I got to be social. I want to have some pep in my step, just like someone might have liquid courage. I now, have my friends over for a barbecue. I'm sipping on my vibration, my vibations drink. I'm like, I can't talk my vibations.
That was awesome. That was, no, seriously, 100%. I feel so seen. And it's just like, it's anything, it's like, it's a little micro dose, take the edge off, help those issues that you have. And I can see why someone, it's just so funny how the world works, where like you come across that article, then we're talking about ADHD and it's like, and here we are though. I'm just saying, it's like, always be open, always consider.
You're not an idiot, but even this, and I will say this, we were talking about cannabis, and again, in our ADHD, we get a little distracted, but this NIH study that we had looked at too was talking about how like they did a study with a group of people that had ADHD, and then they surveyed them after. You're such a bitch. And saw increases in positive, decreases in like depressive thoughts for them, and paying attention
from cannabis.
Attention. Yeah. Like, because they were doctors were seeing people, quote unquote, self-medicate that had ADHD using cannabis. And they're like, okay, let's do more of a study on,
because why are all these people doing it? Is it actually
effective? And, so they had people that hadn't been using trying it. And
I mean, it's interesting.
Measuring inattention, measuring regulation, anxiety, depression. And they saw positivity declines in the things you want to see a decline in, and positivity in the other things. So love to see it.
You know, I'm just thinking of, because again, I'm having all of these like aha realization moments of, I've basically reverse engineered, you know, the typical, I started using the cannabis, realized that was working. And now I'm getting diagnosed with ADHD, you know, now maybe I figure out, you know, maybe I need to go down a new cannabis journey. Using different strands.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You know?
I specifically do. And if you use the app
be fun.
Leafly, it's a great tool.
I didn't know they had an app.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Leafly got started as
See, that's exactly what I need. Okay. Leafly sponsor
is
us.
like a strain library.
Oh, I didn't know.
So they basically, you can go download the app. One, you can find dispensaries that are near you, but you also can type in a strain before you're buying it, and it'll tell you what's in it. They have most of them and how you might be feeling. And also they have a lot of literature and really good articles about, like even one that I'll share that talks about some of the best strains for ADHD. And,
well,
and like I said, I know it was funny because I was like, yeah, I love Sour Diesel for that. And it's on their list.
But also I would say though, yes, love that. But go to your dispensary.
Yeah,
go to your bud tender.
But it
even
is
though you can order online, do your research. But even though you can order online, I still recommend do the research and then go in and talk to a bud tender, because that's been my experience that they are, and they take it seriously. It is. It has always been medicinal, and it now is recreational in Maryland just recently. So they have always taken it seriously. And anytime I ever have gone in there for any of my many issues, and I can tell them what I need, they've always been amazing. So, you know, that's what they're there for.
Yeah,
but
there's a great article that I will, I'll share with everybody too, that does have the Leafly, like some of the best strains, because it's a good jumping point if you are an ADHD person and you're like, oh, let me try this, or let me just find better strains. But I know some of my personal faves: Green Crack, Sour Diesel I mentioned, Durban Poison, and yeah, those are probably some of my go-tos of like,
okay,
check them out.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, kids. Well, I love that.
What do we want to leave them with?
We want to leave them with, you know what? If you're curious about cannabis and you are in a state where it's local, go talk to your bud tender, start small, everything in moderation. And if you have ADHD, like I just found out with this episode was also your
talk to a medical professional.
Talk to a medical professional. I am going to make an appointment.
A licensed therapist, psychiatrist.
Yep. I'm going to make an appointment.
To a general practitioner to give you guidance.
Yep.
Because there are tests that they can do, and a lot of it is just questions.
I gotta go, guys. This has been a lot. I
Morgan
just got diagnosed.
He's got diagnosed. And no, but for real, if you or your kid, like there's tons of resources. I'll link some other podcasts that are more specific to ADHD, especially with women. Takes a Village. It's another one. DM us. And yeah, for me, you have your struggles, but I try to make it my superpower.
That is so true, though.
Yeah, I do.
No, it's true. Lean into it where you can.
That task change,
because man, we can crush some fucking tasks.
Yep, it may be hard for me to sit down. This is probably the only time I'm going to sit down all day. It's so funny.
I know.
We sit on the couch to record.
I know, and even then, we have to be doing something.
Yeah,
I mean that's
toys.
But I'm saying, even when we're relaxing, we look at all this shit that we got going on. We're recording a fucking podcast.
Anyway, we're gonna go, guys. We're gonna go get outside. It's last day of summer. Go do something.
Yes, go
active.
Do something. Woo, divas,
move your body.
Move your body.
Love you. Review us.
Guys.
Also, shout out to Amy and Mike. You know who you are. Friend from forever, long ago. Thank you,
sailing girl, Amy. You're crushing it. Appreciate you.
Us.
Yep.
Your feedback, being a loyal listener, and yeah, love you.
Love you. Share us. Bye.
Bye.